How on earth do you get your life back on track when it's a total mess? Assalamu alaikum, this is your brother Mohammad Arshad, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 steps to get your life back on track even if it feels hopeless. So this isn't something from theory for me. I'm someone who's usually very, very organized, very methodical in the way that I do things. I like to have everything planned out and do it in a certain way. But the last few months have been the total opposite of this. So in October, about 2 months ago, I came to Pakistan for my brother's wedding. Now, weddings are stressful, as you know, but when we got here, we had to plan the whole wedding. So we had the whole wedding to plan, and then on top of that, we had like all kinds of visitors, like there was like 20 or 30 people staying in the house. And then on top of that, we had all the family dramas and politics that you always get at weddings. So it was just total chaos. And for me personally, this was very, very difficult because I'm used to my own space, I'm used to my own timings and kind of doing things like that. But this time around, it was just so much stress. There was so much going on, being in a new environment. And what this meant is that I actually broke my normal routine. So like I said, there's certain routines that I do every single day of my life. But I just kind of broke away from them because I just felt overwhelmed and I felt like there was so much going on and I felt like there was so much to do. So it's kind of a big, big struggle that I've been going through recently. And I thought that, a lot of the times when I'm making videos, it's more about how you should do this and how you can do this because I've been through it and I've experienced it and now I can kind of talk about it. But with something like this, I thought I'd make the video now while I'm going through it to give you an understanding of exactly what I'm going to do to get my life back on track. So I wanted to share these steps with you. I think they're going to be very, very beneficial for you. I feel like these last few months have been something that I haven't experienced for years and years and years. Ever since I got organized and I got like this, and this is the reason why I'm making the video now, because I feel like the stage I'm in now, I have a better understanding of what it's like to really have your life in a mess. Because when you're organized and you're methodical and you look at people and you think, oh, how is it a mess? How does it feel? How could it possibly be like that? But when you're in it and you go through it, like I call it a circus, then you understand what it's really like. So these are the 5 steps that I'm going to be using to get my life back on track. And I would advise that you guys do the same if you're going through something similar. So Bismillah, let's begin. Step 1, interrupt the pattern. Okay, interrupt the pattern. So this is the first thing we're going to do. We're going to interrupt things because what's happening is that I had an old routine and now I have a new routine which is detrimental and maybe disempowering and not very productive. Okay, so this new routine that I've kind of adopted, it needs to be interrupted, it needs to be stopped. Okay, but before we do that, we need to realize something. This whole video is about getting your life back on track. Now, what is your life? What is your life? Right? Okay, your life is like you and this and that. But simply put, I would say your life is nothing but a collection of moments. Right? Your life is time. The way you spend your time, that is what your life is. So if your life is off track, it means the way you're spending your time is off track. Okay? So it's very, very important to think about this in a time thing. Now, of course, there are things that you have, maybe, there's things that you want and that you dream of, and you might think that's not time. But even the way you acquire those things is time. Okay, look, alhamdulillah, this is one of the blessings of being in a Western country. The electricity does not go. But while I'm making this video, the electricity's gone. And so alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful for having electricity all the time. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. It's nice in the dark, right? Oh, alhamdulillah, it's back. Okay, so the first thing I was going to say is you've got to interrupt the pattern. So you saw the electricity went off, it interrupted my pattern. I was like, what do I do now, right? So we need to interrupt the pattern. We need to realize that getting our life back on track is about getting our time back on track. And so a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is going to be about using your time so that you can get your life back on track. Okay? So first thing to remember is interrupt the pattern and remember that to get your life back on track, you have to get your time back on track. Now the way we do that is firstly by becoming self-aware. Okay? This is one of the most important things. Like for you to actually sit down and think about your life, This is you interrupting the pattern. And you need to become aware of what's actually going on around you, right? It's very, very important that you start to realize that things are not quite right. Before you even start putting things in place to try and improve it all, just think that things are not right. And that's what's happened with me. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm supposed to be doing this, I haven't done this. And I've just realized that I'm kind of going down a path that I don't want to, right? So the first thing is actually become self-aware. The second thing I would say is to forgive yourself, okay? Because for me, it's very easy to beat myself up and say, how could you possibly get here? Like, you're someone who helps other people to get more productive and do this and do that, and how could you possibly be here? And be very harsh. As human beings, sometimes we're very, very harsh with ourselves, even more than we would be with other people, right? But we need to actually forgive ourselves, and we need to realize that, look, we're human beings, we make mistakes, we fall into error, we go into places that we shouldn't have to, and that happens. This is what it's about, being a human being. So you need to forgive yourself. And then part of that forgiveness is actually asking Allah for forgiveness. Because there might be some things that I've done during this time which is actually problematic or something against Allah, a sin or something. So we should also be asking Allah to forgive us during this time. And then the third thing within forgiveness is to actually ask others to forgive us. Because like, imagine if there's a circus going on right now, and a circus in the sense that it's chaos and it's madness. I might have promised someone that I'm going to do something, right? They're like, can you get this back to me by Thursday? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it by Thursday. But it's so mad, it's so crazy, I can't do it. And then I don't get it back to them by, a week later. That's something wrong. I should have got it back to them. I made a commitment. I should have fulfilled it. If I broke that commitment, I should actually speak to them. I should ask them for forgiveness. So forgiveness, it has 3 levels. Forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness in terms of asking from Allah, and then going to people and asking them to forgive you while you've been in this chaotic state. Right? So that's step 1, interrupt the pattern. Now, step 2 is called review and reset. Review and reset. So what we need to do here is basically we need to have like a thorough review of what's actually happening. Okay? So we need to list out all the kind of habits. Now I'm talking about the bad habits you've picked up, right? So for example, one bad habit might be that you go to sleep late now, whereas before you used to go to sleep on time. So you need to think about the bad habits that you've actually picked up. And then you need to look at the good habits that you've dropped. Okay, so maybe when you were like really, really, doing well in life, there were certain habits you were doing. Maybe you were reading Quran. Maybe you were waking up early. Maybe there was other things that you were doing which would actually help you to have a much better day and spend your time more wisely. So, like I said, it's important that you do a complete review, list them all down, list the habits down, so that you get clarity on what are the things I need to drop, what are the things I need to get back? And then you get clearer on your destination. The other thing I would say is to go back to your vision. Okay? So because you're reviewing and you're resetting, you need to know where to reset to. So you should have a vision generally of your life. Now, there's so many different videos out there. There's so much theory about how to set a vision and this and that. But to make it simple, I would just say a vision is a destination, right? Where do you actually want to get to? Now, you can set that as a 5-year thing, as a 10-year thing, an ultimate thing, today thing, like however you want to do it, but make sure it's something that's empowering. Make sure it's something that if you're at your best, you will achieve. So I would say that this step, review and reset, this is the time where you actually sit down, and if you already got a vision, you go back to your vision and you start reading about, look, what is it that I want to achieve? Why do I want to achieve it? How am I going to do that? And if you haven't done it, this is the great time to sit down and say, right, the way things are going, no more. I want to be different. How do I actually want to be? This is how I want to be. And then define your vision, define your values, define everything about yourself, right? So that's step 2, review and reset. Now, step 3 is select your keystone habits. Select your keystone habits. Okay, so what is a keystone habit? A keystone habit, we all know what habits are. Habits are those things that you do automatically or ritualistically, and you just do them, right? Some people just bite their nails and they just keep doing that without anyone or anything, right? So what we want to do is we actually want to select the keystone habits. A keystone habit is a habit that if you do it, it will lead to other habits getting done, okay? It'll lead to other habits getting done. So one example of a keystone habit is waking up early. Okay, so you imagine that if you just had this one habit of waking up early, you would see multiple benefits come out of that one habit. Okay, so for example, let's say that you wake up early. Now what's going to happen if you really wake up early is that you might pray Fajr on time. Okay, so you pray Fajr on time. What's the other thing that happens? You might get time for having breakfast. The third thing that happens, you might arrive at work early. Okay, so one habit of waking up early has benefited us to read Fajr on time, to have breakfast, and to get to work early. But it's just one habit, right? It's just the habit of waking up early. So these are keystone habits. So you need to sit down, of course you can Google this as well, you need to think about what are the keystone habits that will change my day, change my life, right? So some examples of these are waking up early, obviously that's a huge one, right? Second one is doing your morning routine. So once you wake up early, having a routine that you go through to actually, have a clear pattern of all the things you want to do in the morning at that time before you start your day. So for example, one of the best things you can do in the morning is read Quran, right? Obviously, if praying is fard, we have to do it. But reading Quran is amazing. Why? Because when it comes down to it, you actually put Allah and His words in your head before anything else. Like, I used to have this habit, this is one of the habits I need to get back, is that when I wake up, the first thing I ever consume is Allah and things like that. So when I wake up, the first thing would be wudu, it would be salah, and then it would be Quran, it would be adhkar, things like that. I would do that before I do anything else. I'm not allowed to look at anything on my phone until I've done that, because I want the first thing to be going into my head is about Allah and the Quran and that paradigm, right? And that's something that I've kind of dropped while I've been in Pakistan, that maybe sometimes I check my phone before I do all of that. So that's one of the things I need to get back. But this is all part of a morning routine which has different elements into it which will set you up for success for the day. And this is why so many people talk about morning routine. Again, it's something you can kind of sit down and build on your own. Do it something that's not too long. So you don't want a 2-hour morning routine, right? Because then you'll feel like it's too much and you don't want to do it. Just do small things and do them every day and consistently. So, like I said, keystone habits, waking up early, doing your morning routine. The other thing is setting MITs for each day. MITs for each day. So what is an MIT? MIT is the most important task. So imagine I said to you today, if you could only achieve one thing, what would that thing be? Right? Now, whatever that thing is, that is your most important task, the MIT. So you want to set your MITs for the day. So when you wake up, you want to think, right, today, what would make today a great day? What 3 things, if I completed them, would make it a great day? Right? And something to help you guys with this, as a side point, is an app that I downloaded. You have to pay for it a few pounds. It's called the 5-Minute Journal. The 5-Minute Journal. So it's really great because it allows you to end every day, be grateful. Like, what are 3 things you're grateful for? By the way, what I do is it says, I'm grateful for. I always start every single one of them with Allah. Because gratitude can be, to the universe, to everything, or to nature. We want to be grateful to Allah. So I always start with, it says, I am grateful to, and then it says a space for you. I say, Allah giving me, or Allah helping me, or Allah, right? So Allah is the first thing. But then within that, you can also add a photo for yesterday, or how the day was, so it becomes a bit of a journal. But you can also add in what you want to achieve today. Like, what are the 3 MITs you want to achieve? So it's called the 5-Minute Journal, and I'm sure that there's free alternatives for that as well. So that's step 3, select your keystone habits. Okay, so I want to take a 30-second timeout to remind you that this video is something I feel will be very, very beneficial for people who are going through a tough time, people that have had stress and chaos and want to get back on track, right? So what I would like you to do is share it with people, share it with friends and family, because a lot of the time we're going through this stuff and we don't tell anyone about it. So by you sharing it, someone might see it, and inshallah it will help them to get their life back on track. And of course, if you haven't already done so, you've got to subscribe to the channel, you've got to subscribe to the page, because then whenever we produce great videos like this, inshallah you get the maximum benefit. It'll help you to solve the problems of your work, of your life, and the way to do that is to not miss out. So check out the page, subscribe to it, and inshallah that will help. So let's move on. We said the 5 steps so far, just to recap: interrupt the pattern, review and reset, select your keystone habits. Okay, so step 4 is seek super support. Seek super support. Okay, so, we have to realize that sometimes we need help, right? We need help. And so what we want to do is we want to proactively go out there and get help. Now, the way we're going to do that is, again, 3 ways. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the ultimate source. We're going to go to Allah and actually ask Allah to help us, right? Because the truth is, we are all powerless. We all feel sometimes we get arrogant and we think we're great and we think we're able to do this. But the truth is, even if the whole of mankind and jinn got together to try and help you to do something, and Allah didn't want it to happen, it would never happen, right? So we need to realize that Allah is the ultimate source of strength. He's the ultimate source of help. And so the first thing we should be doing is making dua. We should be asking Allah, oh Allah, help us to get back on track. Oh Allah, this is too much of a test for me in the sense that I'm finding it difficult to bear. Like, you help me get through it. And put your reliance, put your trust, ask help, and just transfer it all to Allah. Something I wanted to tell you about this is that when I had my first child, when he was born, I remember holding him like straight after he was born. And I was in awe and I was amazed by childbirth and all this kind of stuff. So I was just like very emotional anyway. But I just felt this huge sense of responsibility holding him. I'm like, this is a human being who's going to go to Jannah or Jahannam. And I'm going to play such a huge role in this. And at that moment, for the first time in my life, I actually understood why sometimes fathers and mothers, they run away from their kids and leave their kids. Of course, it's haram, it's not justified or anything like that. But I'm just saying, I understand that the weight and the responsibility can be overwhelming, right? So at that moment of overwhelm, when there's just too much and you can't take it, what I did is I said, Allah, I'm going to do my best with this child, but I cannot do this on my own. I'm not capable at all of doing anything. So I hand this responsibility over to you to help me and to actually make it a success even because of my failures, right? And so in the same way, I would advise that when you're going through tough trials, do the same thing. Whatever you're going through, if there's a sin that you can't stop, or if there's bad things that are going on in your life, or if there's pain in your heart, whatever it is, hand it over to Allah. Because Allah is the only one that can handle it, and Allah is the only one who will take it. Human beings can't handle it, they can't take it, they've got their own issues, right? So ask Allah for help. That's the first thing within Seek Super Support. The second thing is ask others to help you. So although human beings are limited, of course we have amazing people out there. There are people who can help us. They might be able to, give us advice, moral support. They might be able to hold you accountable. So go out and ask, your friends, ask your family, people that you know, and ask them for help. Tell them, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to build this habit, I need some advice on this, and speak to people. Because by speaking and communicating to people, it can actually really help you to see things that you haven't seen before. It can give you ideas. So definitely go out and speak to people. And then the third thing within Seek Super Support is actually start taking in the right content. Okay? So there's so much content out there. And this is why I'm saying subscribe to the channel, because it will get lost. You have to start thinking about what content do I want in my brain. Just like I said, in the morning, Quran and Allah, that's the first thing that should be in our minds. In the same way, if you're trying to build the habit of waking up early, you should be watching videos about waking up early and motivating yourself, because whatever you put in there, it will have an effect on your heart, right? So what you want to do is you want to actually take in content which is very, very motivating for the thing you're trying to do. And alhamdulillah, we live in a world now where content is king. We have YouTube, we have this, we have that. We're one Google search away from motivation. So let's say that you think, I want to wake up early, but you're like, I can't be bothered. I want to stay in bed and it's warm and it's cold outside and this and this and this. Put on a video about why you must wake up early at 5:30, for example, right? And then watch a video on how to wake up at 5:30, right? So there's so much resources out there, and what you want to do is keep yourself motivated, and the way you're going to do that is by selecting the right content, the content that will motivate you to want to do the things you want to do, and then of course you go out and see how to do it as well. So that's step 4, Seek Super Support. And then the last step 5, is iterate to success forever. Iterate to success forever. Okay, so what we need to realize is that this kind of pattern that I've been going through, this is weeks and weeks and weeks in now, right? So because it's weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in, it might not get fixed overnight. Sometimes it can, right? Maybe I can start doing this one habit and it's fixed and sorted. But getting everything completely right, that can be difficult, right? So what you want to do is you want to actually have this mindset of keep reviewing and keep getting back on track. Keep reviewing and keep getting back on track. And this is the same reason why, look, someone who prays, you might say he's guided by Allah, he prays, but anyone who prays 5 times a day, at least 17 times a day, they're saying to Allah, oh Allah, guide us on the straight path. Like, even though I'm praying and I'm trying to be a good Muslim and this, I'm still asking for guidance, because we always fall off track. Every single day we fall off track. We need to get back on track. Fall off track, get back on track. Fall off track, get back on track. And this is exactly the same thing when you're trying to get your life back in order. When you're trying to get on the straight path, when you're trying to do anything, you have to keep watching and getting back on. And so you want to be looking, and you want to be, like I said, self-aware. You want to be thinking about, what are the things that cause me to go off track? What are the triggers? What are the situations? A wonderful thing you can do is actually change your environment, right? So, me being in Pakistan now, what it's done, I've changed my environment from the UK to Pakistan. I've actually found that I get to spend much more time with my children here. Okay, so this is something, just by me changing the environment, it's changed my behavior. So you could think about your environment, and you could think about, if I leave my Quran there, I never read it. What if I left it here? See how that works, and then change again. So just keep trying new things, keep seeing how it's working, keep reviewing it. And like I said, this is something you got to do forever. Like, you can only get better and better and better and better, inshallah. But you have to keep your eye on the ball. You have to keep reviewing, and you have to keep iterating and making it better, inshallah. So just to recap the 5 steps to get your life back on track, even if it seems hopeless. Number 1, interrupt the pattern. And within this, we said getting your life back means getting your time back. We said become self-aware, and then we said forgive. Forgive yourself, ask forgiveness from Allah, and forgive others who you might have wronged because you've been so crazy busy and everything. Step 2 is reset and review, or review and reset. So this is where we're going to list out our habits, the bad habits we've taken that we need to get rid of, the good habits we've dropped that we need to get back. And then we also said this is the same time that you want to actually review your vision. And if you don't have a vision, get your vision right and get back to it and say, right, I'm going to get back to this vision. Step 3, we said, is select your keystone habits. So keystone habits are the habits that, if you do one habit, it has multiple habits that come from it, which are beneficial. For example, waking up early would allow you to pray Fajr and get early for work and have breakfast and all these things. And then we also said every day you should be setting up your MITs, and you can do that through the 5-minute journal. Then step 4, we said seek super support. We said Allah is the only one that can really help. Ask Allah for support. Ask the people to help you, friends and family, and then go out there and consume the content that's going to motivate you to make these changes. And then step 5, we said iterate to success forever, which is all about continuous improvement, always looking at what you're doing, trying new things, improving more, and then keep doing that. I pray that Allah makes it easy for you and for me to get our lives back on track, to use our time wisely, to get habits that please Allah. And insha'allah, I hope you found this beneficial. I'll see you on the next one. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.